because, to be honest, I didn't think I needed to. I didn't think that it would be necessary, and I sort of felt like I hadn't really done anything wrong. Really, I just wanted to let sleeping dogs lie and move on because my goal as a content creator is to make content. But instead,
You are blatantly lying here, Hex. Okay, you drama farm just as bad as Tectone, and you can't just dilute that to say it's just content. Okay, you create this environment, you create this toxicity, and you bring people in for your content. Therefore, it evolves past just you just being this innocent bystander.
having to deal
If you were just playing video games and just gameplay, yeah, then I could respect your decision to want, some, you know, peace and quiet, but that's not the reality.
with is being absolutely bombarded on every platform about what a wretched, horrendous snake I am.
Well, I mean, since you said it, we looked like we had an edit there. Uh-oh. Now he's really upset. Oh, there you go. And Hex Juice got caught by the Tectone.
For betraying someone that realistically I didn't know very well. Because
Maybe.
Tash has chosen to begin a narrative in my direction about my intentions, the kind of person I am, what I'm going through, and how I feel, I decided I was going to come on and give you my truth. Everybody talks around me all of the time in this community. It's a constant and consistent issue that what I say and what I do does not ever get to speak for itself. And
Because you decide to align with somebody who is only there to leverage you as a shield. And because of that, and you don't want to speak up for yourself when there's critical things that you would be known for, you decide to always side with the villain.
I am tired of allowing people to.
She did start it. And now she's going to do what Tectone does. And this is what she has done all the time.
To assume my attentions, assume my.
And she'll use this mental gymnastics to try to say you can't do that, which you can't do. And she's going to tell you why she can't do it because essentially she says she's going to say, this is what I believe, and therefore this is the only way you can think about this issue, which is kind of true. But we all saw what we saw, and that is interpretable. That you can make, decisions, or you can make conclusions on, regardless of what she says here.
Relationships, assume my feelings, assume my thoughts, any of this, I'm going to say it directly, and you can choose to disagree or agree with me, and I don't really care. You can continue to doubt me after I've said exactly what happened and exactly how I feel and exactly who I am. If you'd like to continue to disagree with that or say that I'm not being honest or any of that stuff because I have PTSD or I have Stockholm syndrome.
What the oh, right, this is applying to her, okay.
That's weird on your part.
Yeah, kind of weird, no lie. But it was in reference to the fact that Tectone has like this established moniker about him. So unfortunately, if you align yourself with him, you have a lot of things that go along with that. It's not right, admittedly, and I do feel bad. And maybe it isn't Stockholm syndrome, maybe it isn't PTSD, maybe it's just a mutual relationship. But then again, when you then decide to be vindictive and snakish and try to like slither on back to MTash whenever he's trying to make a good point, and he doesn't need to be piled on by you. He could just deal with Tectone by himself. He didn't ask for you to come into that chat because it wasn't predominantly about you. Then yeah, things get a little bit, things get a little bit weird, man.
I'm going to go ahead and get into it, and obviously I am frustrated. I have to go ahead and say that up front. I am angry and upset because someone has taken my attempt to be friendly, polite, courteous, and professional and used it against me to try to get at somebody that he's had resentment for.
Oh my gosh, so this is literally just a slathering of MTash hate, huh? This is the double down of the MTash hate. Wow, this is brazen, in my opinion.
For about 4 years. I want to get this out first. And this is sort of the core of the issue and the reason why it's so easy to speak on my name for MTash. And basically everybody else. I am my own person.
Are you though? Are you, Hex Shoes? Are you your own person? Because your own person had a lot of issues with Tectone that you aired publicly, and then after that, you decided to basically meld into Tectone at the very end as a final boss and go after MTash as though there was nothing wrong. As though, hey, there's only rainbows and roses over here. I don't know what you're saying, MTash, but Tectone's the rightest person in the world. And like anything you say is just because it's malice and vindictive and you've had a vendetta against this person because you're jealous. You're jealous, MTash. You're jealous because he's so big and you're so little.
I am an adult woman who has her own feelings and thinks for herself and speaks for herself. I am friends with Tectone. He is someone that I care about, who has done a lot for me and who has been incredibly kind to me. That's about all that there is.
That's a lot. And that comes with a lot of fucking stipulations, which is why you unfortunately have this Stockholm syndrome, PTSD, assumptions labeled is because of that. Because we know that when you're in bed with Tectone, it's not healthy a lot of times. It comes with a lot of things.
Required, and I don't feel that I have to be, and I have to agree with him. I regularly disagree with him.
You absolutely do not regular. That's why it was so surprising when you did do it, but then it was all just a joke. It was all just a fabrication. Even though you say you're still frustrated, even though you made really good points, and now that you know that it could have hurt Tectone, you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to back off because, God forbid, actually Tectone admits to his faults. God forbid you actually hold him accountable. But again, you say you're your own person. If you were, you would have held him accountable, but you're not. So therefore, everything you say here is misleading and a lie. All right, Hex Shoes, go ahead. Stop talking bad about. Keep on talking bad about MTash to create this narrative, so that you can literally help Tectone out, even though you say you're not going to do that.
I do not feel like I have to be his friend. I choose to be his friend regularly. It would be much easier for me not to be. I want you guys to understand that. I am consistently lambasted and painted in the most negative light, primarily because of my friendship with Tectone and how much everybody hates him. Actively enjoy his presence in my life. It is not due to this bizarre transactional relationship.
Whoa, you said it, bro. You said it. You said it. You said it, Hex, not us.
Up because of their own assumptions and the context that they add to relationships that they are not a part of with people that they don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you know what happened, what I did and what happened for me. And then we can get into how that has been spun because the situation at this point has been absolutely absurd. I have never experienced legitimate harassment to this level as a content creator. And it is insane that this is happening because I did absolutely nothing wrong other than give someone the benefit of the doubt and not assume someone's malice. Shocking. I know it. Because the only thing that I ever did wrong was not assume MTash had malice. And that's my bad. I'll assume that in the future.
I don't know what malice you speak of, first of all. A lot of MTash's arguments, although he is accused of his own hypocrisy, were valid. Desire to cause pain, injury, or distress to another. Bro, Tectone has malice in that definition. Desire to cause pain, injury, or distress to another. I think MTash was being very rational and very neutral in his take, trying to establish what Tectone's thought process was initially. So I wouldn't consider that to cause pain or injury. Now, what Tectone did to you, Hex, that would be causing pain and injury, my friend.
I guess. But in the grand scheme of things, I was a good friend to the person that I was friends with, and I held boundaries to the person that I didn't know. Here's the rundown. I had a disagreement with my personal friend on stream, and it got heated. There were issues about how both of us handled the situation, and after that conversation, I ended the call. I sat quietly for a second to process how I was going to handle it, and I was absolutely inundated by people trying to incite a drama and cause problems and assume all kinds of things about what had just occurred. I said, I'm not going to go ahead and continue trying to stream with this many people coming in to try to create more of a problem than what happened. I ended stream and I raided Tectone because he is my friend and I felt he was somebody who could handle the situation. And honestly, I was hoping that it would mean that people wouldn't continue speculating in my offline chat, because I knew that he was probably still addressing the situation and they could go listen to him talk about what was happening in that situation. I left my house. I went for a walk. I processed what happened because I'm somebody that takes time to think about things most of the time. And
Yep.
then I messaged Tectone. We hashed it out. And that was the end of the situation of that conversation with me. I am friends with someone. We had a heated debate about a gotcha video game that went a little bit off the rails, and then we worked it out because we're friends, and the smallest disagreement does not negate all of the positive and fun and wonderful and happy interactions we have had previously. Later on that night, it was late. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, my time, and I just opened the Twitch app. I don't just to see what was going on there, because I have friends that stream at night. Shocking. And the first thing that pops up is MTash reacting to the situation. And something I'd like to remind you about my relationship with MTash is the first time we ever had an interaction, we obviously had a disagreement. He didn't like what I was saying about Enviosity because he was white knighting for Enviosity, because Enviosity was a little baby that was being bullied by Tectone and not a grown man. Just want to note that. And I disagreed because
I think she's come around to that recently, and I don't know if she's concluded that, but she's talked about that they've had a private conversation and that they kind of like solve some things,
I felt that Enviosity
but I don't think she'll show the DMs.
was a grown man who needed to handle his own business. MTash proceeded at that point to make a video putting words in my mouth, painting me in the most unflattering way possible without actually putting my name in it or letting me speak for myself literally at all. Really weird how it sounds familiar. And obviously I reacted to that poorly for a number of reasons that were behind the scenes and a lot of people didn't know. We hashed it out on stream and I let that go. Buried the hatchet. We were both under pressure. It was a difficult situation. I was new to having that many eyes on me. Tash was having to deal with like his entire community blowing up. And I personally just assumed, you know what? I'm not going to assume malice where the answer is just easily.
Because there was no malice to assume. He was just reacting to, obviously it was opportunistic, I'm sure, on his part, as a content creator, as someone who does want to make money. I'm not disputing that. But the malice comes from the pain. Like we've already described this, Hex Juice. What the fuck are you talking about malice? The mean of malice and desire cause pain, injury, or distress to another. Okay? He was trying to relieve you of any kind of pain, distress that you had. He was trying to provide context as to why Tectone was malicing you, was being malicious to you. That's the word.
Shit was hard, and you don't always communicate well when shit was hard. So that was the background that I have with MTash. Since then, I made a video about him being, complimentary towards him because
since then he has maliced me so hard that I've now come around and I agree with everything he says again, and I love him.
I was on a kick about wanting to be positive about the community. Got a ton of hate for that, by the way.
I mean, this is the term they're making, Delbrook. What the fuck am I gonna do, man? I know they're trying to paint it in such a bad way, but that's the term they're using. And listen, they'll use whatever term. They're pretty bad, so they can go pretty deep.
As well. Since then,
she didn't bury the hatchet because she was fine with it. She did it because she had no other choice in the situation. When MTS saw that he saw what he's been feeling for, that's true. That was malicious too. Like they're trying to be malicious. They are malicious while projecting the malicious attribute towards MTash, which, I mean, I'm not going to defend MTash, to the 10th degree or to the end of Earth, because he does not deserve all my defense. But at the same time, in that particular moment, I was watching his reaction and I agree with most of the things he said, and I didn't have malice. I felt bad for Hex Juice, and I saw how malicious Tectone was and always has been. He's very malicious.
There's been one
Tectone is malicious.
Interaction where we played League of Legends together in a group chat with a bunch of other content creators.
Yeah.
I was his support, and otherwise, I don't know this person. So I open the stream. I see that MTash is agreeing with me on some of the points that I made in the argument that I was having with Tectone, and I respond positively to that because he's someone.
I know, Ivan. I know. That's malicious, right? Desire to cause pain, injury, or distress. What is the definition of distress? Extreme anxiety, sorrow, or pain. It's pretty close to crying, right? Anxiety, sorrow. Obviously, pain might not have been associated with it. Injury is not associated, but distress is probably the common the one that would associate with what happened.
I was never really sure where I stood with them. And because they were agreeing with me, I assumed going into that Tectone and MTash were friends, and that there was not going to be any malice or anything, and that he was just dissecting the
Yeah,
situation.
that's true. And that is a logical Canadian guy. If there is a definition of malice, it's got to be John. Like if you just deduce all of the logical intentionality between, let's say, MTash, hex use, and Tectone, the only one that you could look at and say, okay, where does the malicious intent imply? It would probably most likely come down to Tectone more than any of them. All the things apply more to Tectone than it does with MTash and hex use. Not to say that they're not malicious, because I think hex use is being malicious as well, clearly right now. And if there is any malicious intent from MTash, it was basically subdued by the fact that he had a relevant argument to debate Tectone with. Which, if there was malice, it was hidden well enough. Whereas the conversation that hex use and Tectone had, that didn't have any reason to be as bad as it was, and yet it was. And so therefore there must have been some malicious intent. I think I'm right.
Because that is the normal and human assumption of the situation. I joked around a little bit. I had to fight with a chatter in his chat because his chat was almost completely unmoderated. He quite literally had to mod a chatter in his chat because he was actually legitimately...
I mean, that just suggests that he has a very open-ended conversation with his chat, which is very good. Other than other people who have mods that they don't probably, I don't know, pay for their services potentially. I'm not saying you specifically, hex use or Tectone, but I'm sure there's people out there that mod that don't actually get paid. I mean, I don't want to suggest that you should create a standard that is okay as well. And I'm not saying that's why MTash doesn't want mods, but he may just want an open community and that he doesn't feel the need to mod. I think it's a good thing in some cases.
Not being moderated with over 1,000 people in the chat. That's
okay. That's called the first constitutional right for freedom of speech and an open dialogue.
More or less it. What happened then was that
Yeah, it could be that as well, Alex, for sure.
MTash started, honestly, I'm just going to say it how I thought it. Dude was going off the rails. He started to bring up enviosity, defending envy.
Enviosity deserves to be defended in the context of being bullied by being called a mint picker every single day for the rest of his life from now until the foreseeable future. Yeah, deserves to be defended. And the only reason why you would even suggest that he doesn't is because you are a dick rider for Dictone hex use.
Enviosity's actions, he started to bring up Atsu and defending his actions, all in the context of his like frustration about how Tectone treated me. I went ahead, I DM'd him. I'm gonna flash the DMs on screen. MTash has already shown these DMs on screen.
Some of them. He's shown some of them, not all of them.
Clear, this isn't like leaking or anything.
I mean, technically it is, but go ahead.
This is literally just showing what's already been shown. I messaged him. I said,
was the chat very chill? I'm sure it was. This narrative is bullshit anyway.
Thank you for validating how I felt. And what I meant by that, and what I assumed he would assume that I meant by
so go on.
That is thank you for validating the points that I made in the video. I guess it's been assumed that I meant that afterward. That is thank you for validating the points that I made.
And then you have to look at this, okay? Even when she said all this, also be careful about the envy stuff. It's a no-no. I don't recommend that fight. Yeah, this is some bullshit. This is perpetrating Tectone's fucking echo chamber narrative about enviosity. And Hexus can go literally go and sign herself offline for this take, because everybody deserves a certain amount of decency, okay? Especially after they've had, the biggest content creator in this space bully them for, 6 months now, 4 months now, whatever it's been. In time is relative. And so just this dismissive attitude, and this happens all the time nowadays. Oh, you shouldn't defend anybody. You shouldn't defend enviosity. He's the worst person in the world. No, there's layers here, okay? Yes, he probably made a mistake, whatever the case is. Does he deserve to be constantly ridiculed for the rest of his life for that mistake when he's been playing free-to-play Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and not been getting into the drama? Maybe not. Because unlike Tectone, he doesn't actually start drama every fucking single day of his life. Unlike Hexjuice, who basically reuses Tectone's content doesn't start drama every single day of his life, okay? So go fuck that take right off this fucking shit right now. And then later down the thing, Antash said, it is more that I think he starts fights with almost everyone. So therefore, Hex Shoes, your whole entire fucking preface of this YouTube video about Mtash being malice, basically Mtash just said it's not only about you, Hex Shoes. It's about everyone. And it's what he's seen for the past 4 years while he's been a content creator in this fucking space, which is what he already said, which is why you guys shouldn't have double teamed him, which is why that's malicious. Go fuck yourself. You self-righteous hypocrite.
In the video. I guess it's been assumed that I meant that afterward, when he had continued to go on a rant, kind of assuming everything that I felt, that was what I was saying, because there's a 15-minute gap in between me sending my message and him actually reading and responding to it, in which he had continued on to sort of assume a lot of things about my feelings and about our friendship and all of these things, where I was deeply uncomfortable. I didn't really know what to do. I'm going to be honest with you, because the reality of the situation was that I was one chatter in an almost completely unmoderated chat.
Oh my God, yeah, you're in a sea of like,
on things that,
you know, oh my God, you could have left chat at any time if you felt overwhelmed. It's not like, you know, you had to be there and you knew what you were getting yourself into. Don't act like you're just some fucking random person that doesn't have an actual like platform and on YouTube and on Twitch every single day, and I've never dealt with just people. Although I will admit, you know, apparently Tectone in your audience is very overly regulated, almost as if you live in North Korea. I'm just saying. I don't know. A lot of banning are happening in those channels, and it's kind of awkward. It's kind of like an echo chamber, so maybe that's why you don't really understand how the real internet works, how real unmodded chat works.
That didn't concern me, didn't involve me, weren't about me. He was ultimately venting all of his frustrations he'd had with Tectone over the last 4 years. And there's a certain reality that, first of all, his entire chat was a complete hate train toward Tectone.
To be honest, Envy Bird himself saying no wonder his wife divorced him was low as fuck, even if I don't like it's a vulnerable. Yes, of course, bringing anybody's personal stuff in anything Canadian guy is a bad take. But you got to understand one thing, okay? And this is the part that I think needs to be clarified. That video was part of a fucking Twitch stream. It was a VOD that was publicly available to anybody to watch. Now, Enviosity clipping it, put it in the context to make Tectone look bad. Obviously, it's a bad fucking take. Does someone deserve to be bullied for the rest of their life because of it? No. And especially not if there's someone who just is going to try to get back into the game, maybe a couple of weeks, whatever it's been, okay? But now it's been months and months and months. And Tectone has never disowned this behavior. You know what they do? They continuously say, you should not talk about Enviosity in a good light anymore, because guess what? He is permanently damned for the rest of his life for doing that. Even though Tectone himself posted that content with his wife in that car, he fucking leaked his DMs about his personal life and then blamed Atsu about it. He does this all the fucking time and then blames everybody else, and nobody holds him accountable. There's equal amount of blame to go around, even if Enviosity is wrong. So is Tectone, and Hexjuice just fucking vehemently suggesting that Enviosity should never be mentioned ever in light of any kind of argument at all, because he is fucking the devil, is bullshit.
Tone, vile. The way that people were talking was gross, disgusting, very, very harmful. I was one person in a sea of chatters, and it was also 2 a.m. I did not want to continue to escalate a situation that was already looking really crappy. I basically tell him, your feelings are valid, because I'm not going to invalidate somebody's frustration with another person that I don't have anything to do.
They crossed lines, but he started the fight years ago, type thing. So I can understand why they hate him. And this is how she, and then, okay, this is clear, okay? This is what he does too, okay? So Mtash right here is, they crossed lines, but he started the fight years ago type of thing. This is when she used Enviosity. They crossed lines, but he started the fight years ago. Like, he started a lot of this shit that happened with Atsu and Enviosity and Braxophone and fucking whatever the other people were, okay? Or Dish or whatever all these people, right? So I can understand why they hate him. And then in response to that, and this is what Tectone does too, she's like, oh my God, he's dealing with so many personal issues. You cannot do that to him. You cannot attack him because he's dealing with so many things. Okay, stop it. Stop it, Mtash. Stop it, Plazukas. Stop it. Stop it, Atsu. You can't defend him because he's dealing with all this stuff. He's got a lot of bad things going on. Like bad shit. I've talked to him as well. Like I know the real reason. I get it. This is why he's had this. This is why he has to talk about these things online. This is why he can't disconnect from his personal life to his professional life. He has to use everything. This is what Tectone does too. He uses his own personal. I was homeless. I have an addiction. You know, pity me, poor me. Pity me, poor me. Pity me, poor me. But then on the other hand, the next day, oh, go fuck this guy, fuck that guy. I'll take, bad take, delusional, lunatic, malice, vindictive, jealous, weak. This was a me. And then he said, but yeah, this is a me issue now. Seeing him talk to you like that just tilted me and confirmed how unacceptable I find the way he does that to friends. Not just you, friends in general, which he was one of them, apparently, supposedly, even though now Tectone is walking that back because God fucking forbid, you know, he has any loose connection to anybody that he disagrees with, and therefore would have to, like, you know, lose. Jovian, dude, she just said express them, just don't mention her. Yeah, but in order to have the most relevant of an argument, and it was present in everybody's mind, and Tectone's always like, prove it, prove it, prove it. What better fucking example to use than the example of her having the issue with Tectone the other day? And that's all it had to be, and that's all it fucking was, Jovian. It wasn't anything more than that. Okay? It wasn't anything more than that. And that's a lot on Tectone too, always saying prove it. And that's a good way to prove it, is the most recent example with him and him and Hex use, whether you like that or not.
With you need to confront him, have this
And it was
conversation.
a public space, and that's it. And they could have done it privately, and none of this would have been tasteful. But they chose to do it publicly for a fucking reason, and therefore that's their choice, and it becomes public dissemination. It becomes public discourse, whether they want to or not. All right. And then he said, your feelings are valid. I'm still upset. He knows that I'm still upset. So apparently he's still upset even after the conversation. Yes. You should have this disagreement 100%, just not on my behalf. Okay. Well, you can't make them statements when you make something online. So he can use that as an example, whether you want him to or not, understanding that you said not to. And that is a choice you have. But you cannot dictate what people do. Okay? This ain't North Korea. This ain't China. This is the fucking constitutional state of the United States of America. People have choices to make. Does that make them look bad? Does that make them look hypocritical? Sure. Okay. Does it make them have malicious intent? No, not in the case of MTash. And even if it did, he is warranted by all the things that happened and transpired in the last week, right? And you look at Tectone, yeah, it looks more malicious on his end. Why would you do him saying I am using you to go after him in white knighting for you? Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Have this, say this on your own, and I don't need to be defended. I'm an adult human being. Basically keep me out of it. The way that I wrote this was very specific because I, again, don't know MTashed. My intention was to be professional and polite and not continue to escalate a situation that already seemed completely out of control. That has, I guess, apparently been taken as me putting a stamp on approval that everything that he said in Tectone in that entire stream was entirely valid and that I was on his side and all of these things. That's not what I said. That's not what I did. I don't know why you would assume that I had all of this malice and resentment when I said nothing of the sort.
Well, she may not lose that, Gigi, in the end. If she actually, had her own platform. I mean, I do like a lot of. I think she could be very successful without Tectone, but she chooses not to be for whatever reason. I think it's that obviously she's going to be accused of Stockholm syndrome PTSD. That would be the reason why she's not going to do that. In that she had the opportunity to basically win, and he even said that. Tectone even fucking said that. He said Tectone said that Hex Shoes had a choice to go on her own, and she chose not to. This motherfucker can like basically Stockholm syndrome herself. Like he already said the Stockholm syndrome exists because of it. I think she might be a little bit. Well, anybody would be. If you have a business and that's your full-time job and you rely to pay your bills, then yeah, you don't want to do anything to change that up. including potentially losing the person that's making you the most successful in that sense. All right, here we go.
Acknowledged that I had already DM'd Tectone and talked to him about it, that I was frustrated, and as Tectone knew that I didn't want to be part of the situation if he wanted to go after Tectone like this. That's essentially all that happened. I did not want to be brought into it. I am of the opinion
Because you knew that that particular segment, that particular debate or argument, whatever you want to call it, was so effective at proving Tectone wrong, and you obviously maybe were told in DMs that you needed to walk that back. Call it whatever you want. Maybe it's not Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe you're not transactionally friends with him. Maybe you are real friends with him. That's manipulative, okay? And maybe that's not what happened. Maybe you are sincere about this. You just don't want to have this conversation happen. Well, you shouldn't have openly talked about it. You should have privately talked about it. That was a mistake. Going forward, do private DMs now, Hex Shoes. You can't take it back, unfortunately. It's out there, and people will use that from now until forever.
that MTash likes to bring up other content creators to defend them, quote unquote, in order to vent his own frustration regarding Tectone. I don't
think MTash is going to make videos about this. I think he's done. I don't think he wants this heat. I really don't. I don't think he wants the continuous potential drama that's going to come from this. Like, unless he becomes a drama channel, I think he's going to probably walk his way out. Okay, this is just her now, which I'm not going to give her any time of day.
That's what he did with Enviosity and Natsu, especially after.
Goodbye.
To one person, I said it in a professional way because they weren't somebody that I knew. They weren't my friend, and I was trying to avoid creating a worse situation than needed to be there. And to the other person, I expressed it as somebody that is obviously my friend, and I'm giving them my genuine thoughts about what was going on. But reality is those two messages said the same thing, just in much different words. My intention that entire time was to say you have a right to talk about this. The reality was the cat was already out of the bag. He had been ranting.
No, it wasn't that simple, I think. It wasn't that simple. It's not that simple. And even if it was double teaming somebody like that and it coming like unscripted, and then MTash not having a way to have his own fucking backup or whatever else to help him out is a fucking low blow. Okay, you want to talk about malicious intent? That's the malicious intent.
For like 3 hours, and there wasn't really anything anybody was going to do to stop the whatever confrontation was going to happen. Not to make it about me as an excuse, not to make it about me. Really,
yeah, you never know, Canadian. Conspiracy theories aside, you never know.
Realistically, at all. I don't know MTash. I've never had a personal relationship with him. There was no reason that he would or should have assumed that there was this level of me agreeing to this hate train against Tectone. And honestly, the way that it has been painted, that this was like this like turncoating situation, is absolutely insane. I came to him as an adult and I set a boundary politely, and he took that as like an A-okay that what he...
MTash used her argument with Tectone because Tectone always says prove it. And what was the most relevant recent thing to prove it? That Tectone was wrong and that Tectone had bad takes. And it was the conversation that he had with Hex Juice. So yes, he did use it as any normal person would. It was a public fucking VOD. That was Tectone and Hex Juice's choice. That was nobody else's choice. That was their choice to make. They didn't do it private. They did it public. And therefore, they don't get to dictate whatever the fucking discourse is after that. And it's not MTosh's fault. Is it low, bro? Is it whatever else to throw people like that? You know, it may be a little bit, okay? It could have been malicious, but everybody was being malicious. Hexus was being malicious, and so wasn't Tectone being malicious, okay? They were all being malicious. They all should be held accountable for their actions, if that's the case. But I guess who's being more malicious than all the more malicious than, or those three, is most likely Tectone, the most malicious of all of them, I guess. I'm not going to keep on making this argument. I'm done with that. I've already made it.
He was saying was correct. I don't think it's fair to use my attempts at courtesy, professionality, and...
She don't get to choose that anymore, I think. She don't get to choose that. Once she did it publicly, that was her choice. And then he can make his choice whether he did it or didn't, and he chose to.
Friendliness against me as this, like, proof that I am a snake or a turncoat or have...
You are a snake and a turncoat, apparently.
Stockholm Syndrome, because that's just simply not what happened. I am my own person. MTash had his own issues with Tectone, and...
Did we just watch the first minute of this video? I am very guilty of obviously restating my thing over and over again in videos, especially ones I don't edit. So I do understand this, but I just got a little deja vu there.
He absolutely and 100% could have had this entire confrontation with Tectone entirely on his own terms, not bringing anyone else up. Or alternatively, if
No, that's not true, Hex Shoes. He needed to have proof. In your argument with him, in the emotionality of it, in the contradictions of it, were the easiest thing to say, okay, look at this argument. That's why you are wrong, Tectone. That's proof. Okay? Instead of going fucking a week back or 2 weeks back and showing proof, because Tectone would have said, prove it. Prove it. He did prove it. And you know what Tectone did? Because he knew MTash proved it, he brought you in. He brought you into White Knight to fucking shield him. And it worked. You double teamed him. You made him look even worse. And yet, people who know weren't actually fucking convinced, and they said, okay, this was more malicious than that. Tectone's actions to bring you in was malicious. You choosing to come in and turning your coat, as you say it, okay, being a snake, that was malicious, Hex Shoes. That was malicious. Why you make this fucking video in the first place when it's so glaringly obvious to everybody outside of your cultist, sheepist, herdist chat baffles me. Unless, of course, like Canadian said, it's a conspiracy and that Tectone wanted you to make it. And that was part of your DMs. But I'm not trying to goat you into revealing your DMs because I don't want that to be on me like it was on Atsu when Tectone revealed his DMs. Let's be very clear.
if he didn't want to have this massive blow up publicly, what he could have done in any of the last 4 years when he had a private line to speak to Tectone in DMs, could have messaged him and let him know that he didn't like what he was doing.
I know in some ways I was in the wrong and I was an asshole. I snapped, couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and he admits that. He admits that. And like, there's ways to go about this, and he chose that way, which is, you know, definitely a mistake in many regards. But he admits that, which I think is a very mature, responsible thing to do.
The bridge, and I am very okay with my decision to do so.
This was the chat today, I think, and he didn't want to even go into it anymore. He wasn't going to entertain long conversations about the drama from yesterday. He just basically said that, and that was it. He's very happy with his decision to no longer be friends with Tectone, essentially. And because he thinks Tectone is a bad person, ultimately. And I think that's a fair conclusion to make, based on everything that Tectone has done.
I could have tried to do it tactfully, but regardless, the bridge.
Yeah, I know that he's been defending Envy in this whole thing, because I think he knows, and here's the reality, okay? There are multiple stories. There are 3 sides to every fucking story, okay? And you've only heard Tectone's story, or you've only heard Hex User's story. And Enviosity has never actually told his story, only used something, you know, pretty immature to throw into Tectone's face instead of actually just having a debate with him. But then again, we see how debates go with Tectone. You can't really compete with him on his platform because he'll scapegoat, he'll move the goalposts, he'll fucking deplatform you, he'll use his tactics. So it's not a fair game here. It's not a fair game. And it takes a very skilled person to do it. And if you are skilled, Tectone's already admitted that if you are skilled, like Hassan, he said Destiny, and he said Asmongold, and some other people, then he doesn't even want to deal with you because he knows he loses. So therefore, what the fuck? It's a no-win situation for you. So you throw people under the bus, you know, any way you can, I guess. You do whatever tactics you feel relevant. Didn't even want to in the first place. This is not me defending Enviosity, but I am showcasing why someone like MTash could defend somebody like Enviosity, because you know what? There's more sides to this story than what is being portrayed.
Even if I did it tactfully, it would have been a DM saying, "Man,
That
I don't want
is
anything to do with you."
Absolutely bullshit. The reason Tectone wins is because he is smart at arguing, and the person arguing with him can't back up. Yes, they can. They have. MTash did. And obviously there was hypocrisy thrown into his face and stuff like that, but he made relevant arguments and points to make. I've made relevant arguments and points at Tectone, and guess what he said? He said, "Well, why don't you spend time with your family and friends? Why are you being so obsessive with me?" Like, he throws everything in my face. That's not being smart, okay? That is the lowest form That is the lowest form of a denominator to do that. It's to deflect, to straw man, to red herring somebody out of the actual policy or discussion that we're having.
And I did actually a couple different times kind of hint at it, and I didn't pull the trigger out of fear.
But he didn't do that, and instead held on to resentment and built and built and built until it exploded all over the place, and he's embarrassed himself publicly and tried to bring me
He's not. I mean, he probably feels embarrassed because he didn't want to do drama to begin with. That's probably true.
down with him. I'd like to address a couple of the things that are being said about me right now because realistically, again, I did not do anything wrong.
Yep.
I attempted to be professional and friendly, and I was friendly with someone when I thought that they were doing a react to a video addressing arguments, and I didn't go into that situation assuming that he was actually addressing Tectone as a person. I didn't know. I came in the middle. He had already been in that video for like 2 hours. I didn't even know how long he'd been in the video. I literally came in the middle toward the end. So first of all, this whole concept that I somehow inserted myself into the drama, that's absolutely untrue. That is sort of a stupid thing to say. The
Okay.
reality of the situation is that this all started because he chose to react to a video of two friends, me and Tectone, having a discussion that got heated about a video game. To say that I inserted myself into that situation when he took that and started to have a massive rant about all of the issues he's had with that other individual for years, implicitly makes me part of the situation, especially with the amount that MTash was assuming my feelings, inserting himself into the situation.
Okay, maybe he did, but at the same time, you've already said that you were emotional. So therefore, maybe his assumptions would have been wrong, but now we know they weren't. So therefore, why are you bringing this up when his assumptions were correct, Hexuse?
Putting his own personal feelings and deflecting them on.
He's deflecting. You know that word very well. You may not know it because everything you say you may think is true, because you've made yourself believe that. But you're the biggest deflector of them all because you basically are in alliance with the biggest deflector of them all, Tectone.
To me, ultimately creating a narrative around my life and my career, which is weird and gross and inappropriate.
You can recognize that she was getting emotional, and even if there's no place to be emotional in a debate, you kept using it for content and went after her, and not went after her, but you just kept
Did I
going and
attack
playing
her?
up.
Well, this is so good. I'm so glad you put this in there, Hexuse, because that makes MTash look like a strong debater. That was a really good segment.
Instead of going, do you know what? Fuck this. It's not worth it. Hey,
Yep.
Sec.
Yep, I remember this part. This was very good as well. You know, it's been it was a long stream the other night, so a lot of this gets lost in the sauce. But this particular thing is really strong.
Hex, I'm sorry. Let's just move on from this. Instead of being the bigger man and realizing, do you know what? This could impact my friendship. Because I'm just
Oh,
just
so
gonna
it's
say,
on me.
Maybe she.
So just make sure. So it's
She's
on
not
me.
in power. She's
So-
the one that's upset. She could
Oh,
have
so
actually
she
said,
can't acknowledge that I'm getting upset. I have to say, oh,
Dude,
you're getting upset.
dude,
Let me back off.
multiple times in the conversation, she tries to be like, like I don't know if I want to keep going with this.
She did. This is all very true. And it was relevant to proving the fucking point, which Tectone always wants proof. I'll be right back.
And you keep going with it.
No one has any right to assume or create a theory around how I feel if I tell people how I felt. What I said publicly multiple times and also to MTash was that I was frustrated, yes. I didn't want to be used as a pawn in someone's narrative, and that me and Tectone are friends and we're good. Anything beyond that, any theory crafting beyond that is
No, you don't get to decide that anymore. People are allowed to make assumptions. They can make an ass of themselves by doing so, but they're allowed to make them. And in the case of MTash, he was right because you said you were emotional. And your logical fallacy that you're creating right now is just to basically try to find a narrative that you're right. And although you have a point to say that you asked MTash not to and he chose to, therefore, in that aspect, yeah, he chose not to. And that's something you can criticize him for. But you also chose certain things like doing things publicly instead of privately. There's a mutually shared responsibility here. And you're just as wrong as everybody else is. But I don't see you holding yourself accountable.
Is weird, parasocial, and inappropriate. Whatever I say is what I said because I'm an adult woman that can speak for myself. I do not need anyone coming to save me or assume that things are not what I said. If I had a problem, I would say it. My entire platform is based around the fact that I'm someone who speaks for themselves and speaks their mind. That's not just something I do for content. I'm an adult. So I do not need to be made into a victim of anyone because I'm not. I'm not a victim to anyone. I'm not afraid of tech.
Well, you shouldn't have acted like you shouldn't have acted like you were emotional in that video because people reacted to that and they felt emotion. Okay? That is a reality.
Tech tone. And that's sort of the next point we're going to talk about, which is that I'm too afraid of Tectone to stand up to him, which realistically is a laughable concept because the video that MTashed was reacting to was a video of me disagreeing with Tectone live on stream. So I'm afraid to disagree with Tectone where? This is a narrative that is spun about me regularly, whether it's too afraid or because I don't want to or because I don't have my own thoughts or whatever. Because basically this community sees me as an appendage to another person because we're both honest people who are highly critical. Realistically, the similarities more or less end there. We have similar opinions about things and not always the same one, and we also disagree. But no matter what I do or what I say, even if I say something completely in opposition to Tectone or Tectone starts saying something that I say, it's always attributed to him. Every single thing that I do is attributed to Tectone, and it's also said that I parrot him for everything that I do. I'm not afraid of Tectone. I disagree with him all the time. If you actually watch my videos or engage with my content at all, it'd be very easy to see that. But the reality is that people only watch the videos that are related to Tectone even tangentially, and then they assume everything about everything else I do, which is not, fair, but not something that I can control. Part of the reason that I didn't want to talk about this is because the reality is that I understand that people have already made up their minds. You either have sided with one or the other. I don't think that there's much that I can do to really change that, and it's really frustrating that other people can create narratives about me. They do it literally all the time. But yeah, I'm not afraid to stand up against Tectone. I disagree with him pretty regularly, especially recently I've been disagreeing with him because I didn't really like Zenless Zone Zero. I have had disagreements with him both publicly and privately, not just this time, but times before then. I am not a yes man. I have never been a yes man. People put that on me because they assume what relationships are like because they just don't like Tectone. And they assume everything about me based off of how much they don't like Tectone. And it's weird. Just like to say that. It's super fucking weird. But I was actively disagreeing with Tectone live in that situation. And to then try to say, like, I'm too afraid to do that is absolutely...
You did because you didn't fully commit. You walked it back and then you turncoated your way back into the conversation acting like there was nothing wrong, that we solved all of our differences, when clearly there was a glaring issue that you could have literally called him out for and you chose not to. You went almost there because for whatever reason you finally got a little bit of a spine. You finally got so upset just like MTash did, just like Gotcha Smack did, and you say, you know what? Let me get it. Oh, fuck me, I forgot. I can't actually get it. Because if I go all the way, this guy's going to deplatform me. He's going to bully me. I've seen the graves of all the content creators that have come before, and I'm fucked. So let me walk it back a little bit.
Absolutely absurd. Not only had I had a disagreement with him publicly in that situation, I'd also messaged him letting him know what was going on for me and why I felt frustrated and all this other stuff. But none of that is anyone else's business.
I think this looks good for MTash. If you're not a herdish, sheepist, cultish thing, I think this just makes it even more apparent that MTash is perfectly fine here. It actually helps him out. That example that she showed with him debating with Tectone was a really good example because everything he said was accurate to what she's already admitted to.
Because what I said was, I don't want to be used as a pawn in someone's narrative and that we are good and that Tectone is my friend. The next thing I would like to address is the snake betrayal concept.
Please just ask him he feels about you. He uses this. Okay, let me make sure. This person that you were trying to defend, Hex Juice, sent me a comment, which is...
I'm not defending her at all.
Ask him how he feels about you. He keeps using others as a shield to air his issues. So why don't we just talk about me and you stop being this white knight for other people and we just actually be men about this?
I'm not being a white knight, and Hex, I think you're a fucking snake. So let's
And
just do
there it is. So what you're saying is you reacted to me and Hex talking for 3 hours because you wanted her as an excuse to get to me.
I'm not personally of the belief that I can betray somebody that I don't know and that realistically I have no legitimate relationship with. We have no trust in each other. We don't know each other. We're you could barely call us acquaintances, much less friends or anything like that. I said what I thought to both MTashed and Tectone, the same thing. I just simply said it in a professional manner to one of those people. I said it the way that I would say it to somebody that I was close to and I don't have to censor myself with. But in no way did I betray anyone. In no way am I a snake in the grass. And realistically, would it not be more of a snake in the grass situation if I chose to turn coat on Tectone over one singular disagreement to bandwagon with Tectone and hate on him? It's an absolutely absurd thing. I was somewhat friendly in chat for a little while. I messaged him asking me to keep me out of it and to have his own disagreement on his own terms. And anything beyond that, any other assumptions that MTash made are purely because he wanted so badly for someone to validate all of the feelings he has toward Tectone. And the unfortunate reality,
he was trying to validate your feelings that you had in that particular argument with Tectone. That was it. And then you couldn't even acknowledge that because you basically, and to be honest, the analogy of being a snake is appropriate. You turned it around on him. He was, and you didn't even have to acknowledge all of it, but you could have just said, yeah, you're right. I don't think she did. I don't remember exactly. It's long, like 9.5 hours. So I think she went pretty much into him and tried to discredit him and say that he was being malicious and stuff like that is what I remember. So
those were his own. I don't want this to be about me. If you don't like Tectone, say that you don't like Tectone and say your problem with
Tectone's whole community are full of sheeps. Literally, Hex admits that Tectone loves to talk about himself constantly. Yeah.
Tectone. But
I don't like
my
Tectone.
issue,
I have a problem with Tectone.
There you go. Now he finally said it. There you go. That's it. You asked Hex Juice and he said, I have a problem with Tectone and it's not about anybody else besides that.
Okay, so make it about that. Stop bringing.
Well, he had to bring it up because he needed to show proof because this is how Tectone deflects. He's like, prove it. And admittedly, MTash proved it.
Up these are the content creators, this and that and that. If the conversation that I had with Tectone upset you, I understand that. But that's why I set the boundary of I don't want this to be about defending me.
And I've never said it's about defending you. Even in the DM with you, I said, yeah, this is a me issue now.
Yeah, but when you were on stream, it high key was because you're trying to rope me into this hate train that you were doing. Your chat was being super fucking miserable.
I'm not roping you in. What the fuck you were chatting in there the whole time. If you felt that way, you would have been gone.
Because at a certain point, I had already chatted and everybody knew I was in chat.
Hex, can I interrupt?
And he wants to interact now because he wants to continue to have this narrative. Because he knows that Hexjuice is getting defeated by MTash, and there's this teamwork that's happening right now.
So what you're saying is, MTash, is that you know Hexjuice's intentions more than she does.
The last major point that I'd like to address is the concept that I only agree with Tectone to get clout and views. That's not true. I don't even agree with Tectone all the time. I've actively disagreed with him multiple times recently, in fact. The actual situation that everybody wants to talk around was a situation in which I was doing so, once again. However, if we could just sit down and actually be real about this for a second, there would have been no more lucrative decision in my career possible than for me to turn code on Tectone and start shit-talking him right now. That's just what it is. The views of me, who is a very well-known Tectone dick rider, turning code on Tectone, a woman who was too afraid to say what she really meant, being bullied by big, mean, misogynistic Tectone, who defended him for so long and was treated so badly. The narrative on that is absolutely insane. The juiciest tidbit for the gacha community known to man. I would have been absolutely catapulted in my career. There is no more lucrative decision I could have made. The reality is I was put in a situation here because MTash insisted on bringing me up in a situation that was about him and Tectone only, in which there's no way I don't get hate, because I could get harassed because I disagreed with Tectone, or I can get harassed right now because I didn't take MTASH's side, which never was going to happen. I don't know why anybody thought that was a thing. It's disgusting. I can't prove my intentions. I can't prove my heart. I can't prove the person I am. I can just be the person I am. And the way that people assume so much about me is very frustrating, because the narrative is right now that I have been deeply mistreated by Tectone and really do believe that he's a terrible person. And I confirmed that to MTASH and then turned code on him because I decided that Tectone was realistically like the more beneficial option for me.
Yeah, I mean, you answered it yourself. Thank you. I don't need to speculate anymore. I appreciate that, Hex. Kind of like, you know, in line with my thoughts exactly. Ally, what's going on? Is there anything else? Seeing how does someone than Tectone know everyone else's intentions better than themselves? It's known Tectone is the only one who knows literally everything. Yeah, Tectone knows everybody else's intentions, including Hex users as well. But he just brought that up conveniently. It's just to derail the conversation again. That's the whole point, Nether. It was a tag team effort, and it was 2 versus 1, and it's just not right. I've been watching this stream trying to be neutral. This dude's just parroting things, just listen to CC and make your own opinions. No, you can't just listen to any CC ally. I'm so sorry. Because if you listen to Tectone, unfortunately, you're going to be manipulated, and you're not going to have full context. It's been very apparent to me. That's why I'm doing this, ally. That's why I'm here. Bro, she literally just said that's the narrative. Bro, she literally just said that that's the narrative, not what happened.
That's absolutely insane, unless you just assume that I can't speak for myself and I can't stand for myself and I don't know how I feel, and that
No, of course not. We don't assume that. I mean, we can observe that, and we observed that when you had an argument with Tectone. We observed your emotional state. We observed the cracking in your voice, which may have been fake, and if that's the case, please tell us that. But any logical, neurological, empathetic person would be like, I feel sorry for Hexus in this particular thing. And you kept on pressing the issue on Tectone, and he kept on pushing back and deflecting. And so, yeah, anybody would. And then especially somebody that's a content creator has been in this space for 4 years, whether they do have malicious intent, whether they do have some kind of vendetta, you know, saw that as well. And maybe they use that as leverage. But at the same time, it was necessary because Tectone requires proof, and you just so happened, and it was your choice to be public about it, be the proof that was needed. So that's on you, okay? And because you don't care about Tectone, you don't care about all the things that are going to happen after that choice, and because you're your own person, then you know what? It's not going to matter, right? There's not going to be any discourse. It's not like Tectone told you to make this video or told you to like defend him. It's not like if you ever had those DMs leaked or anything like that, that wouldn't reveal that, right? That it would just be all mutual, and that Tectone would be like, why the fuck did you call me out on stream? Why in the fuck did you say that thing about me, Hexus? Now you fucking made me look like a misogynist. Now you made me look like a fucking womanizer. Why'd you fucking do that? It's not gonna be like that's not what the DMs are gonna be like, right? I don't think so, right? We're good. Everything's gonna be so cordial and happy and kumbaya.
I need people to protect me. I do not need the internet to tell me who to be friends with. I do not need the internet to keep an eye on my friendships. And I do not need anyone to tell me how I feel or how I should feel, because I am my own human being. I am a self-actualized individual that is capable of making their own decisions. And I'd like you, disrespectfully actually, to butt the fuck out. My relationship with other people is no one's fucking...
You know what I'm going to do? Because I usually do the opposite of what Hexus and Tectone says. I have not been covering Hexus in a while. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to butt myself right in. You want me to butt the fuck out? I'm going to butt my fucking self right in. Okay? I'm going to watch your streams more or react to your streams, see how much you are parroting Tectone, make examples of it. It's going to be quite enjoyable, in my opinion. But you're not going to like it. But you don't have to do Twitch streams. You don't have to parrot Tectone. So just be warned, Hexus. I'll be watching.
Business. Whatever I say publicly, assume it's the truth unless I say something different later.
Okay, we assumed that you were emotionally vulnerable when you had an argument with Tectone. God forbid us making that observation. Could we have assumed wrong? Yes, but in in hindsight, we assumed right because you even said that you were emotional. You've actually given us all the evidence we need, just like Doctors Disrespect gave us all the evidence we need. That was your fault. You should have just kept it obscure and we would have looked like an ass. But you chose to give us the information. So thank you.
To paint me both as a victim to Tectone, but also a snake, we have to understand the inherent contradiction there. I am a victim to Tectone who has Stockholm Syndrome, which is a mental illness. Somebody who has Stockholm Syndrome is somebody who loves their abuser, right? So I'm both a victim who has been abused to the point of getting a mental illness, right? Or something similar.
Okay.
And also somebody who is a snake that is self-serving and chooses the thing that gives them the most clout and the most career boost. We understand that these two things are inherently at odds with each other because
Well, no, that's not really the case if it's applying to Stockholm Syndrome because you will do things for your abuser. That is the part of Stockholm Syndrome. Do I think Stockholm Syndrome is the best analogy to use with you? No, I don't think it is. I think it's more of a transactional relationship, and maybe everything you do say should not be believed because all you're doing is for content, and therefore you're shallow and you're a shill, and nothing you say matters. So I don't know why anybody would watch you in the first place, unless it does matter. I'm so confused. I don't know where it begins and where it ends with you, Hex. I don't. Obviously, you're a VTuber, so that's another form of fantasy.
because if you genuinely believe that I'm a victim to Tectone, there's this crazy thing where you probably should try to help me or be concerned for me and not also paint me as somebody who's inherently manipulative and kind of a shitty person and a bad friend.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I did
Yeah, I would say that as well, Dumbo. You're right.
not say you don't have a friendship with her. I said you were being an asshole to your friend.
Yeah.
And
It's not
when
the same
she
thing.
disagrees.
So twisting my words
When she
and saying,
disagrees.
oh, he thinks she's and that's fine. Whatever fucking Stockholm Syndrome friendship you want to have.
And so
there,
now you're saying she
fine.
has Stockholm Syndrome with me? What
dude.
the fuck are you even saying?
She was
I love it.
messaging in
I
a
love
friend-
it.
or in the
What?
You know what? You know what? I was a bit neutral on MTash, but I actually think he won a lot. You know what? I'm gonna grade this differently. I'm gonna give him a fucking B plus. I might even give him an A minus. I actually love the things that Hector's pulled out because it's fantastic.
Oh, fuck is
chilling,
this?
happy, dude, it was bizarre. It's so weird. After seeing the DM she sent you, it's like, what the fuck? Why the fuck were you in the chat like that the whole time yesterday?
What? She saw the DMs. MTash has seen the DMs.
She
was
came
weird.
in late and didn't know what was happening.
No.
I did not want to be part of this situation.
No, I don't know that. She's saying she doesn't. I think so. Instinct. So I'm gonna say she doesn't. You're a little bit late, Mod.
Ultimately, this
My message earlier wasn't saying you were parroting. I was responding about a chatter. Okay, no problem, ally.
entire situation is caused because MTash himself was too afraid to talk to Tectown about problems that he had and then built up resentment for 4 years until he just couldn't hold it in anymore. And
Yep.
the video that he watched of me and Tectone was the catalyst for him boiling over. So
That's correct. Very good. Wow. I didn't think you were possible. I didn't think you had I didn't think you were able to logically, formulate that. But I appreciate it. That was really good.
it's a little bit ironic from someone who couldn't stand up for themselves against Tectone themselves privately to assume that that was what was happening with me. Because it's absolutely not. I have had multiple times where I brought up concerns with Tectone privately and publicly, and I'd really like it if people didn't try to put their own problems onto me because they're not mine.
Well,
I
just
have
keep
been
it private
put in an
then.
impossible
Just keep it private, Hex, and nobody will do that. I promise you that. And if they do, then you have a reasonable complaint.
situation in which I can never be my own person because inherently for me to be less similar to Tectone, to not be called a Tectone dick rider,
Yeah.
would be to betray somebody who has been a very, very good friend to me, somebody
Right.
that I absolutely can trust, and or / to be someone that I am not. The comparison stops at the fact that I assertively say my own opinions and I don't let other people decide what I need to think. And for me to not do that would for me to inherently not be who I actually am when I am live or when I am making content. I am an entertainer first. The
Yep.
point of all of this is to be an entertainer.
Yep.
That was my dream. I'm very appreciative for those of you who listen to the things that I say and understand all of the nuance with which I speak, because sometimes, honestly, I speak with too much nuance, and it lets people argue with me more than they probably would if I just spoke like Tectone in black and white. I have worked very hard to develop my own style and my own way of doing things. I continue to do that all of the time. All of my success is attributed to Tectone. Everything that I say is attributed to Tectone. Everything that Tectone says is also attributed to me as if I said it. And I am literally never allowed to be my own person, not because of anything that I do and not because of anything that Tectone does, but because of the way that the public chooses to perceive me and my relationships and my intentions. So the point of this video is to say, let me speak for myself. Even when I am actively and currently disagreeing with Tectone, people will still say that I am parroting him and Tectone dick riding him. I will actively also be saying a point that I started talking about, and then Tectone sort of also started talking about after, and they'll say you're parroting Tectone. I started talking about that idea first, bestie. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. There's literally nothing I can ever do for the public to see me as my own person, and MTash has put a nice big red stamp on it, guaranteeing that that will be the case unless I speak out, and there is absolutely no desire in my heart for me to make this video.
I think that's fair. I think, although MTash did win, putting the Stockholm Syndrome, the snake moniker is going to be difficult. And I don't know if he'll walk it back, but I wouldn't really be surprised if he does. Maybe after this video. And I wouldn't fault him for doing so, because that would be a Tectone. Like, if he didn't, and like the monikers and stuff like that, if it doesn't apply, but it does apply in this case. That's the problem. Like, maybe Stockholm Syndrome doesn't apply, but the snake part of it, the turncoat part of it, yeah, kind of does apply.
Video, because I don't know if it's actually going to change anybody's mind, but everybody is.
Well, I mean, and then again, you've perpetrated a lot of this as well, Hexuse. You've called people names. You've called me names, you know, when we used to go back and forth. So you're your own worst enemy in this case. Not to like continue to use hypocrisy as a way to make an example, but it is true. Like, everybody's hypocritical to some degree, and some people are more consistent than others. So you saying that is hypocritical as well, because you do the same tactics commonly. So I'm giving you a little too much credit, I think.
Assumes this like weird transactional thing between me and Tectone, where it's like I make the videos and he gets the content, he reacts to me, and then I get
Yeah, I think so too, Echo. That's possible.
the views, and then
I believe that, Clive. Yes.
The reality is that Tectone hasn't reacted to my content in quite a while, and the last time he did, before that, had been quite a while before then. I very rarely put Tectone in my thumbnails. I still get that brought up about me literally all the time. I counted. In about 100 videos, he's been on 6. I very rarely react to him. Most recently, I've reacted to him primarily because I was lazy and he had already set up a situation. I try my best to be my own person and to seal the deal on the fact that I am
Alex?
either somebody who is so manipulative and clout chasing that I absolutely.
First of all, I came into this space with 100 subscribers. I made one video that never named anybody. I didn't name Hexuse. I didn't even know who Hexuse was. I didn't name Tectone. I didn't know who Tectone was. And they called me names. They started this before I ever started it. Am I finishing it? Am I going to continue it? Yeah, I am. And will I now call them names? Yeah, because they made it personal in some regard. So you're right, Alex. It is a little bit back and forth here as well, admittedly. I've had to get a little bit dirty.
Absolutely have to follow Tectone no matter what I think of him, no matter how reprehensible I think he is, apparently, or that I'm like this victim with Stockholm Syndrome and he manipulates me and treats me poorly, and I still like him.
Yeah, and maybe the Stockholm Syndrome's a little too close to home. Maybe that's a little too far.
Because it's the only thing I know how to do, or whatever the fuck the narrative is really disgusting on MTash part when he's trying to call out Tectone for being a manipulative person who says things publicly that harm them, and then MTash himself manipulates the situation and causes me to get harassed worse than I ever have in my entire career, which is pretty wild because realistically, I've been harassed quite a lot. That's kind of all I have to say. I did nothing wrong other than choose to not assume malice when I probably should have.
You've done a lot more wrong than that, Hex. Come on. This is why, your whole argument just falls flat. But go ahead.
Should I have maybe said something publicly in that chat? I don't know. There was no right way for me to handle this situation.
The right way would have been if Tectone is truly your friend, you could have just handled it privately, but you didn't. and then you wanted to dictate the narrative after, and that's just not the way that works. Because guess what? It's not the way it works with your content. It's not the way it works with social media. It's not the way it works with internet. You know, can we have a debate on whether it should work like that? Sure, but that's not the standard. And you've been in this environment long enough to know that.
No.
And to be honest, it seems like you and Tectone did it publicly for a reason, for content. And that's a choice. You know? And MTash might have done it for content as well. And that's a choice. The difference is we understood your emotionality. We understood MTash's point of view. What we don't understand is why you didn't push back on Tectone, because he was being malice. He was being malicious. And yet you turned it around against MTash, even though he tried to accurately, mind you, use your situation to help make your case for you in that respect. And then you told him, you have no business speaking my name. Get my fucking name out of your mouth, MTash. Slapping him right in the face. I don't know if that's snakish behavior. I don't know if that's turncoat behavior, but it's something. It's some behavior. It's something different that you may not actually do based on the fact that you had an argument with Tecton the day before that was pretty emotional.
Right way for me to respond to MTash and
That's Will Smith behavior.
having to deal with MTash, like getting through his like resentment toward Tectone finally, and having that moment where he finally just says, I don't like you. I believe very strongly in my heart that the vast majority of the time that MTash has stood up for other creators, it is because he was trying to vent his frustrations and resentment towards Tectone without taking responsibility for his feelings. He's finally done that, and congratulations to him. It would have been really nice if he didn't drag me down with you when you threw yourself under that bus. That was a really, really shitty thing for you to do. Ultimately, I think that if you're a content creator that consistently preaches this peace and love toward the planet Earth, drama is bad stuff, you probably shouldn't test your friends live and bait them into getting into a call with you when they actively said that they don't want to talk. And you probably shouldn't start creating narratives on the behalf of someone that you don't know and turn them into a victim and/or / just an awful manipulative person. That kind of sucks. I was attempting to be respectful and professional with you, MTash, if you're watching this. And the fact that you chose to take that as me enabling your behavior and agreeing with you and reveling for hours in a situation is...
that is just a blatant lie, because in the DMs he told you that it wasn't about you anymore, that he was going to go online. So all of this after the effect, and you not acknowledging that that's what he said on your DMs, whether you wanted to agree with that or not. And then even to your own credit, after he said all that, you did this. After he said that, this is how you ended that message, which I skipped over. Honestly, question mark, because if I felt that was what you were going to do, you started bringing up Atsu, envy, your own issues, and it stopped being about your reaction to the situation. It 100% felt like you were taking my situation and using it to vent your personal frustrations. It made me uncomfortable. If you have issue with Tectone, I don't care, and I understand. He's a frustrated person, but I don't want you to be the mascot for your... I don't want to be the mascot for you to prescribe for your crusade.
Under the bus. Deeply disappointing. I'm going to be real with you. But that's kind of it. I'm my own human being. I'm not a victim. I'm not scared of Tectone. All of the assumptions that people have about the kind of person that Tectone is based in his interactions with people.
Wouldn't you side with your friend if they were in the same situation as Tectone? This would have never happened if someone was my friend. Okay? I would have had a private conversation with my friend. Why would I ever want to blast my friend online to begin with? That's not friendship behavior. So I don't know what the fuck this behavior is. Obviously, I don't have any love for any of these people, Tectone, MTash, or Hexshoes. They're all content creators. They're all trying to make a fucking living and money. So I could care less. But at the same time, if somebody is going to make my case for me like MTash is, and is going to have to fucking literally 2v1 somebody, yeah, I'm going to side with the person that I feel like most aligns with my current feelings, and I will take what I can from each of these people to try to make my point. Is that criticizable? Yes, it is. Come at me. But guess who won't? Guess who won't come after me? Hexshoes or Tectone. You want to know why? because they're fucking scared. Because they're pansies and they're pussies. And they can't handle my heat because guess what? I'm not here fucking playing games. Okay? I'm here with the real fucking shit. I'm here to actually hold him accountable and not to turncoat or snakish or to fucking get some fucking paycheck. I'm here to actually expose them for who they are and for everyone to see them for who they are, and then we can, after all that, after the dust is settled and all the transparency is finally out, even though they say they're fucking being transparent when they're fucking not, then we can actually have a conversation. Then I can start hanging out with them, having fun with them. But until then, no fucking way. Until then, I'm going to hold them accountable at every opportunity. But they won't do that because guess what? They're too fake.
People that have actively done shitty things to him. I'm not afraid of Tectone something suddenly turning code on me because I know where my lines are, and the easy way to know is, am I going to upset Tectone? Yes or no? Are you doing something that is objectively shitty and disrespectful to Tectone? Yes? Okay, then he's probably going to come after you. Are you not doing...
He's not coming after me. I've been the shittiest person to Tectone in the last month. More than anybody else. And this guy is not coming after me at all. Not one bit whatsoever. I mean, it is unbelievable how much I have I said Tectone goes on a 24-hour Twitter rant. Is he okay, or is he just drama baiting to the max? I say using Twitch chat to solicit sex is the most disturbing thing I have seen in a long time at Tectone. I say corporate show free to play at Tectone questions everything because Withering Waves has to pay for his mortgage. I say Asmongold thinks at Tectone is just as scummy as Boogie 2998. Selling shit as chocolate is wholesome. I say opinions matters except at Tectone's, and it's a song. I call him out an OTK top streamer from chapter 2 and 3. I literally say that he's biased, that he's got nepotism, that he is rigging the competition by using examples like iDunkle. Let's see what else. I call him out for the conversation he had with Gotcha Smack. Let's see what else. Okay, a couple breaks here before a rare. Okay, this is the time that I actually was nice to Tectone. He didn't even respond to that when I was nice to him. God forbid. iDunkle lost a chance at 50,000 because at Tectone seemed intimidated by the alpha energy of iDunkle. At Tectone talking about Dr. Disrespect and Enviosity while reacting to at Facepalm Gammon video. I don't know what this was in relation to, but it probably wasn't that great. 99% of my content is not good regarding Tectone. I have a whole song about Tectone here, okay? Let me show you the song, all right? Not many people have watched this song.
Right. So here's the thing. So the reason why I don't spend money on gacha games, right? Is so here's the thing. So the reason why I don't spend money on gacha games, right? Is so here's the thing. So the reason why I don't spend money on gacha games, right? Is so here's the thing. So the reason why I don't spend money on gacha games is because like Plazookas and Tau. Like Plazookas and Tau.
Like bazookas and Tau.
That's pretty much been my day today. It's been good. I've been pulling up my TV screen with my buddies. We've been watching the videos.
My day started out so sad until I heard Tectone. He said he put me on his TV and showed me to his friends.
That's pretty much been my day today. It's been good. I've been pulling up my TV screen with my buddies. We've been watching the videos.
I asked him once, what do you do to the people you love? He said he pulls them on his TV screen and shows them to his friends.
That's pretty much been my day today. It's been good. I've been pulling up my TV screen with my buddies. We've been watching their videos. So I also wanted to give you guys some news. So I went and I asked the developers if they would just give me free shit. right, if they would give me Astro out of my account, and they said no.
My day started out so sad until I heard Tectone. Got turned down by the developers of Withering Waves.
They would give me Astro out of my account, and they said no.
Got turned down by the developers of Withering Waves.
They would give me Astro out of my account, and they said no.
I hope you like this video. It's for Tectone because he shared my video with his friends. Yep, and there you go. See, there's so many examples of how this should apply to me, but it doesn't because he is scarred, and I'm lower. I'm not Asmongold. I'm not Hassan. I'm not Destiny.
Yes? Okay, then he's probably going to come after you. Are you not doing that? Because I know where my line to upset Tectone. Yes or no? Are you doing something that is objectively shitty and disrespectful to Tectone? To upset Tectone. Yes or no? Are you doing something that is objectively shitty and disrespectful to upset Tectone? Yes or no? Are you doing something that is objectively shitty and disrespectful to Tectone? Yes? Okay, then he's probably going to come after you. Are you not doing that and you're being a good friend to Tectone and you're respecting him? Yes? Okay, then he's not going to come after you, right? That's it. It's not that fucking hard. You just have to be a cool person. So all of the insane behavior and all of the insane shit that people put on him about how he treats people that he actively dislikes obviously does not apply to people that he is friends with. And I'm not afraid of Tectone. He's always been deeply respectful of me and of our friendship, and has been a huge benefit, not just to my life career-wise, but just in general. He's a great person, and I'm glad that I've met him. And I'm glad that somebody that I was a fan of turned out to be the kind of person I thought they were going to be behind the scenes. Isn't that so crazy, Mr. Tashed? Get your nose out of my business. Don't assume anything about me or my...
Yeah, Tash, don't assume anything about me, even though I was right with my assumptions.
friendships, and if you want to know what I have to say, you should probably listen to me and not somebody else. Have a lovely day.
This is a horrible response by Hexshoes Alexandra.
I'm no longer going to be allowing people to create narratives about me.
You're going to ban them because Daddy Tectone said, ban anybody that disagrees with anybody. Content creators. Alert, alert. I have a new message for you from the Batcave. Ban all the people that disagree with you. Content creators that are in my shielded point of view. Yes, you know, the evil villains assimilate. Ban all the content creators. I'll ban all the people that disagree with you.
If you understand the kind of person that I am and what I stand for, I hope you're doing great. You're lovely and you're looking very handsome today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And if not, choke. Bye.